Hi, Hugh here, and welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how to navigate almost any synthesizer really quickly. This way, next time you're in the high-tech section at Muso's Corner, you'll feel way more comfortable navigating the huge amount of synthesizers they have plugged in, ready to twiddle on in store. So synths obviously come in many form factors. Synthesizers, 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 synthesizers. Even on your phone, synthesizers. So as you've seen, each synth can be wildly different from the next, and I love that. The design world of synthesizers is really exciting, and it's really free, and it's really open. And like any instrument, different synthesizer designs have different strengths. It would be like grouping string instruments. You could have a nylon string guitar, or a cello, or a bass guitar. There are commonalities. Each instrument has a string that you excite or pluck or strike, and then you fret that instrument to get different pitches. Some are more polyphonic. It's a really exciting space to be creating musical sounds. So now I'll show you a few commonalities of synthesizer design that I hope will help you navigate almost any synth that you come across. Let me know what you think of this video by leaving a comment down below, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button while you're there. So I think one of the best ways to show you how to navigate a synthesizer is by running you through the layout of this mini Moog beside me here. It's got such a clear and compartmentalized layout, and we can really see how each section of the signal chain goes and flows to form a sound. A lot of these ideas work on hardware synths and software synths alike. So you can see, going from left to right here, we've got this master tune. Because synthesizers can be tuned, I like to think of the oscillators like strings. So I've got the master tune dial here, then we move into the oscillator section, and you think of the oscillators here as individual strings. For example, this first oscillator on its own, so we can select what octave this oscillator is in, and then we can blend in the second oscillator with the mixer. And you can tune this oscillator. So you can think of this now as two strings, whether it's in unison, or maybe we can do a fifth. And then we've got a third oscillator here. So even though I'm only playing one note, I'm getting three separate pitches here. I'm getting the first oscillator plus the second oscillator plus the third oscillator. Oh, that's low. And then when we blend them together, and you can find different amounts of blends. So you can think of the oscillators like strings, for example, and then you can tune each oscillator and play it how you please. Right then, I use this next section quite a lot, and that's the mixer. And you'll often find a mixer on a synthesizer for finding the right blend and the right mixture of these different oscillators. Then to the right of that, over here, I've got my filter. Hugely expressive in the timbre of your sound. Down below that, I'm going to skip straight down here to the loudness contour, and that's basically my amplifier. Or you could think about it like the attack, decay, and sustain and release. So I could have a really fast attack, and then a short decay and a short sustain. And that way, I get like a pizzicato sound, or a little bit longer decay and sustain, and it's more of a staccato sound. Or I could really slow the attack for like a legato. Especially if I went into just one oscillator over here. And then it becomes like a violin perhaps. Right now, I'm going to add some noise. It's a really great way to excite the sound, and synthesizers love distortion, and this one here has a built-in overdrive. I really think that you can treat synths a lot like guitars when running them through effects and distortions and overdrives. Let's skip straight to the modifier section. So I'm going to have a fast attack, and then I'm going to get my filters section here. And what right now I've got I might increase my sustain and my decay time. So now you know what you're looking for on most synthesizers that you come across. As you can see, synthesizers are not that complicated. You've got an oscillator or a sound generator, and then generally that will run into a mixer where you can balance the levels of those different sounds. And then from the mixer, you'll generally run into a filter section where you can play with the timbre of the sound. And then from there, you run into an amplifier or an ADSR where you can control the attack and the decay and the sustain and the release of the sound. Here's another synthesizer by Roland. And you can see we've got oscillators, we've got a little mixer here, and then we've got a filter section, and then the amp section for the attack, decay, sustain, and release. This Behringer copy of the ARP 2600 looks wildly complex. However, I assure you it's much the same. You've got 3 oscillators across the top here. This is your mixer section in the middle there. And then you can see I've got a filter up the top here. And next to that is my ADSR. You can see the attack, decay, sustain, and release. There's a few other functions here. For example, I've got a ring modulator, or there's a noise generator in there as well. The noise generator on this machine is awesome. And there's also a sample and hold function. However, as far as getting a sound, oscillators, mixer, filter, ADSR, and then you've got your amp at the end for turning it on. So if you look for those 4 things, your oscillator, your mixer, your filter, and your amp, I'm sure you'll be able to start designing sounds on most synths that you come across. I think one thing that really attracts me to synths is how expressive they can be. You can have the lowest of the low and the highest of the high, subsonic and supersonic frequencies. You can have huge polyphony, so when you hit one note it plays 16 voices, and that will sound like an orchestra just at your hands. Or you can have otherworldly sounds. A lot of synths have built-in effects like delays and reverbs and distortions. So again, you can get these other sounds, sometimes natural, sometimes mimicking the natural world, sometimes totally something unheard of. So I hope this video demystifies synths a little bit for you. Please let me know what you think by leaving a comment below, and make sure you hit like and subscribe while you're there. Then you can come into Muso's Corner, where we have a huge high-tech aisle with lots and lots of synths that are plugged in and ready for you to play. And then you'll really be able to test this layout theory for yourself. Or you can jump online and have a look at the synths we have on the website. That's www.musoscorner.com.au. And look, I hope it just gives you inspirato for making some wild music. And like always, I'm Hugh. Happy music making. Muso's Corner. I'll show you a couple of other tricks now, and that'll help you really start to think about the sound of your synth. So you may have noticed that across the top here, you've got different shapes, and they're different wave shapes for each oscillator. And an oscillator basically means you've got a frequency vibrating so fast that you can hear it. And that is the shape of the vibration. So a triangle sounds less harsh than this shark fin, which sounds less harsh than this sawtooth, which sounds less harsh than this pulse width. And then when you narrow the pulse width, you get different timbres to your sound. And why that's important is because when you start to mix that with other waveforms, you start to get really different sounds. So that's a really nasally sound with this shark fin and the narrow pulse width. And then to make it less nasally, I'll make that pulse width wider. Really, really crazy stuff. Then we add in lots of distortion. We've got some more controls here. So the pitch glide just controls the speed in which we move from one note to the next. Here it is off. So you get those lovely glisses or portamentos. Finally, one more quick thing to show you is modulators. And remembering, this is a basic rundown of synthesizers. A modulator is like a waveform or another sound source that you can smash into the existing sound source that'll make it do really weird things. So that sound is the existing sound, and then you've got another waveform being sent into that existing sound which causes it to phase and modulate. Totally wild.